Welcome to a KeySmash Studios tutorial. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to import models, adjust their colliders, and then we'll be setting up our scene. This is part 5 of our collection game series. If you've missed any of the previous parts, I'll provide a link in the description to this tutorials playlist. As you're watching, if you find this video helpful, please remember to like and subscribe. The first thing we're going to do is import our models, so I'm going to go ahead and create a folder for them, and I'm just going to call it models. And I've actually gotten these models from Open Game Art from an asset pack called Nature Kit by Kenny. I'll provide a link to his profile on Open Game Art as well as this specific kit in the description below. But I'm going to go ahead and import the assets that I pulled from that kit that I'll use in this video. And you're just going to pull them from your folder into the scene. And then you want to make sure that auto generate collision is checked. And then I'm going to adjust the uniform scale to 25 just because for this specific asset pack, they were a little small when importing. And then I'm just going to click import all. And as you can see, they all went into this folder and their materials imported as well. So now I'm going to adjust some of the colliders of a few of these, specifically the stone steps. So I'm going to go ahead and open up this one. You just double click it and it'll open up the object's details. And again, we're going to be working on the colliders. So if I go over to collision and drop it down and click on simple collision, you can see the green lines for the collider that it auto imported for us. And Unreal has two types of collisions, the simple collision and the complex collision. We're going to mostly be focusing on simple collision as it gives us more control over the collider, but I'll also show you an example of complex collision, and complex collision puts a collider on every single face of the object. And so whereas that's not a big deal in a low poly aspect, if you have a very high poly game and all of your objects have complex collision, that's going to be a lot of processing power that's needed and your game will probably be slowed down. And so through simple collision, we can get rid of some of the unnecessary colliders. For instance, I don't need a collider on the back part of the grass in this, as the player will never be colliding with the back part of that grass. And so if you're wanting to adjust the collider that's imported in, you're going to go down to where it says convex decomposition, and we're going to adjust these three different properties. So there's hole count, max hole verts, and hole precision. The hole count is the max convex pieces. A convex piece is essentially just a large polygon, and so by adjusting that hole count, we can allow for more complex collisions, or we can reduce the hole count and make the collision simpler. And the max hole verts controls the maximum vertices for any generated convex hole. And then there's hole precision. This is essentially a scale of simple to complex, and so the lower the number, the more simple the collider is, and the higher the number, the more complex the collision is. And a simple way to picture it is just how close the collider is to matching the face. So I'm going to go ahead and adjust these parameters. Figuring out the best placement of these numbers takes a lot of messing around and just kind of getting a feel for the three different parameters and how they interact with each other. I personally always start with hole precision first. And so I'm going to go ahead and set this one to 45. And then I'm going to click apply so you can see what the hole precision is doing to this model. So as you can see, there were more edges added to our colliders, so that way it more resembles the steps. But if you look at that top step, it's still slanted, and I don't want that to be slanted. So instead of continuing with the hole precision, I'm going to adjust the hole count, which will allow me to have more convex pieces and flatten out that stair. So if I go ahead and click apply now, you can see that each of these steps has a flat portion and then a line down from the stair above it. So I'm going to go ahead and save this one. And I'm going to move on to the next steps. And for this one, it's going to be similar. I'm going to do 40 for the hole precision. And I'm going to change the hole count to 5. And that resembles about how closely I want these steps to be, so I'm going to go ahead and go back and open up the next steps. And for this one, I'm only going to adjust the hole precision, and I'm going to make it 45. And click apply. And now I'm going to save this one. And I'm going to open up this corner piece. And with this one's a much simpler shape, and so I'm just going to do the defaults inside of the convex decomposition, and that's close enough for me to feel that the collision makes sense. So I'm just going to save, and now I'm going to open up the cave entrance, which it looks like I somehow missed importing. So let me go find it. So I'm just going to import that and then open it up. And then with this one, I'll show you what the complex collision looks like. So as you can see, there's some tiny little blue lines there to show you what it will look like. And then if you go over to the details panel and scroll down to the collision, where it says collision complexity, you're going to want to change that to use complex collision as simple. Then we'll go ahead and save. And again, the complex collider is mapped to every single face of your object. So now I'm going to go ahead and go back to the scene, and I'm going to cut here and go ahead and create the scene. So now that the scene is set up, we want to add our interaction areas. But before we do that, I want to show you how to look at all of the colliders inside of your scene. So if you go up to show and click on collision, you can now see all of the colliders, including the ones that we've edited, so that way there's stairs instead of just a ramp. I'm going to turn that back off though. And now I'm going to go over to our C++ classes. I'm going to drag out our interaction area, and I'll start with the trees. And you're going to want to put them at any tree you want to be interactable, but I'm just going to do a couple so you get the idea. And then we need to go over to the properties of the interaction area and name the type and the item and the amount. So again, the type was the action. Since this is a tree, we'll be chopping. The item was what the player collects. I'm doing logs. And the amount is whatever number you want it to be. This is a slightly bigger tree, so I'm going to do 7. And then I'm going to take this interaction area and copy and paste it over to this little tree. And then obviously the action is still chop and the item is still logs, but this time I'm going to make the amount the player gets less since the tree is smaller. So for this one, I'm going to do 4. And then I'm going to do the same thing for our stone. So I'm just going to copy paste this and drag this one over to this rock. And then for this, the area type is mine. The item is stone, and the amount I'll give will be 5. And then again, I'm going to copy paste it. And drag it over to the little rock. I'm going to make the area smaller. And then I'll give this one 2. And then finally we need our fishing area, so again, I'm going to copy paste this, drag it over to the water edge. And then the action for this is fish, the item is also fish, and the amount I'm going to give is 1. So now we can save our scene and go ahead and test it out. And so I'll start with the tree. Yes, you can see it says can interact. If I click F, it says is interacting. And then after a couple seconds, I finish my interaction. If I scroll through my inventory, you can see that I now have the 7 logs from this tree. Now if I go over to this small one, you can see again it says can interacting, is interacting, and then finished interaction. And now I have 11 logs from the 2 combined. And so if I go over to these stones, I can do the same. And then I have 5 stone. And then I can interact, I am interacting. And then now I'm up to 10 stone. So now if I go over to the fish area and click F, I finished my interaction, and now I have 1 fish, 10 stone, and 11 logs. So as recap for this video, we imported our models, we adjusted the colliders of those models, and then we set up our scene using them. We also worked with the interaction areas and showed how you can have different ones even of the same type. And with the way we made our interaction area, you're not tied down to just fishing, mining, and chopping trees. You can have any kind of interaction within your game by just changing the parameters of that interaction area. As always, I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions or suggestions, feel free to leave them in the comments, or you can join our Discord and ask them there. We post videos here every Wednesday and Saturday, but we also stream games on Twitch Monday through Wednesday, so if that interests you, be sure to check it out. On top of that, we've developed a game on the Google Play Store called Blast Off, and we've created an asset pack of kids' toys that is on the Unity store. If any of those things interest you or you'd like to support us in any of those ways, all of the links will be provided below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.